to defeat on the opening night. Oh, how about that? That was electric. Oh, what a hit from the Liverpool captain.
Yet again, Robert Lewandowski is in the goals. It wasn't even really a fair contest.
Oh, wow. Sheriff might just have won it.
Another hammer blow for Barcelona.
Ronaldo! It's Cristiano Ronaldo! Oh, there's his first goal! The little genius with a wonderful goal! A straight red card for Griezmann. Liverpool back in front.
He took it like a seasoned pro.
You may come alive.
Ronaldo! Oh, he's delivered again! And he's missed it. He's blown it. Malva finally off the mark in the Champions League. The Etihad explodes. Oh, even by his standards, something a little bit special. Brilliant from Reece James. Chelsea have been rampant. Lionel Messi, and you knew it would be special. Headed on and headed in. Liverpool win all 6 games. And Chelsea are pegged back right at the death. And the game is up for Barcelona now. The end of an era.
Well, are you getting a sense of deja vu? I know I am, but let me just explain to you how it all works once again. Here are the teams in the draw for the round of 16. Each group winner on the left-hand side will be drawn against a runner-up on the right-hand side. And remember, at this stage, clubs from the same country can't be drawn against each other, nor can clubs who met in the group stage, hence Man United, couldn't face Villarreal. 3 of the 4 Premier League teams won their group. Liverpool, in fact, won all 6 games, the first ever English club to achieve that feat. Meanwhile, Man City qualified alongside PSG from Group A, and despite a few hairy moments on the way, Manchester United finished first in Group F, completing the seeded pot are Ajax, Bayern Munich, Lille, Real Madrid and Juventus, who topped Group H at the expense of Chelsea. They're in the unseeded pot, along with fellow runners-up like PSG, who could play anyone apart from Manchester City and Lille. Atletico Madrid came out on top of a 3-way battle last week to secure a runners-up spot to Liverpool in Group B, and we know what tough opposition they can be in the knockout rounds. And joining me for the Champions League round of 16 draw, I'm still with Joe Cole, Michael Owen and Owen Hargreaves. Guys, once more with feeling.
Yeah,
you're looking forward to it.
I'm really looking forward to it. And not as much as I was really looking forward to Chelsea versus Lille. So I'm just hoping that one gets drawn out again.
We had the Joe Cole derby and it was the best possible scenario really for Chelsea. How do you think the Chelsea players are going to be feeling now? Well,
the Chelsea players and the management and the club will be slightly disappointed because there's a lot worse. They could have got Real Madrid, they could have got Bayern Munich, Ajax from flying for. So Lille was probably on paper the plum draw. So for Chelsea, they're going to be disappointed. But I go back to the fact that it has to be fair. Someone was going to miss out. There was going to be somebody who would be disappointed. There was going to be complaints. So the only positive thing out of this is UEFA have come out and acted swiftly. Yeah. And we're still here.
Well, let's have a look at what happened earlier then. This was the original draw and the ties earlier on looked the worst for Manchester United. Liverpool had FC Salzburg. Atletico, who put in a complaint to UEFA earlier on, were drawn against Bayern Munich. Manchester United wasn't in the pot when it should have been at that point. Chelsea got Lille and Villarreal, the Europa League champions, were due to be up against Manchester City. Is it only, do you think, Michael, Man United, who are going to be pleased that we're doing this again?
Well, out the English teams, yes, definitely. No wonder Atletico Madrid put in a complaint because they drew Bayern Munich. But yes, Manchester United are the ones that will be happiest about this. Listen, inevitably, all 16 teams there are going to have mixed emotions, different, someone else is going to be drawn, unless there's obviously similar draws in any of the legs, but everybody's going to have a better or a worse draw. So it's best just to get that out of your head straight away. It was a void draw, and we go again, because, as I say, there's going to be sob stories all round. Yeah. And of course, some teams that drew a really difficult tie are going to be joyous again. But that's just that was the decision that was made an hour or two ago, and we've got to live with it. And it was a mistake, and of course we'll learn from that, or they'll learn from that. And but there's no weeping now. That's gone.
Yeah, mistakes happen. We move on. We do it again. Pep Guardiola was asked about it to respond, and he said, "I think it makes sense to do the redraw, so there are no suspicions. All the opponents are tough. Some say one is better than the other, but all are difficult." I mean, it's true to say there are no easy games in the last 16 of the Champions League, but some opponents are tougher than others, that's for sure.
Well, Man United would be delighted, to avoid PSG. I mean, that would be an absolute dream. I feel a bit for Chelsea, Liverpool and Man City. They got great draws, heavy favourites. Look, they're the best teams in the competition. They probably beat most teams. But, it's all about the draw. You think for Man City getting Villarreal, Liverpool getting Salzburg and Chelsea getting Lille, they're almost perfect at this stage with the utmost respect to those teams. So United would be absolutely delighted. To avoid PSG would be a dream. And Joe makes a great point. At the end of the draw, some teams are going to be delighted and some are going to be super irritated with what they've got. We're just going to have to grin and bear it.
The problem for Chelsea is they're in that unseeded pot, Joe, because they gave up top spot in the group on the final day of the group games. You can see the odds there as well. City are the favourites ahead of Bayern Munich, but all the English sides in the top six there. Chelsea, though, things are going to look very different depending on who they get, because they could get Bayern, Real Madrid, Ajax, and Lille was the better option for them.
Yes, and again, the only good thing, like I said earlier, Lindsay, is just that it happened quickly. So there's no time to mentally or emotionally prepare for a tie. The lads would have still been out training, and then they'll come back in, and all of a sudden, who we're playing? It's a void draw. So they're probably sitting there watching it now. So for Chelsea's perspective, look, it can't get better because there's 4 possibilities. So Lille would have been the easiest tie. Real Madrid will be back firing on all cylinders. Bayern Munich are one of the favourites, and Ajax are the tournament surprises. If you're interested, if you look at the betting odds there, 4 out of the top 6 are our English teams, and they are the best sides in the competition. So none of the teams should be fearful whoever they get, because they're all capable of getting into the last 8.
We said, didn't we, before the original draw earlier on, that we don't really remember going into a last 16 draw with the Premier League representation feeling as strong as this. Do you think they can all be confident, Michael, whatever happens, given how strong they've been in the competition so far?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we look at the potential strong teams there at the top of the market, let's say. And I think no matter who, Manchester City, Liverpool, probably Chelsea, whoever they draw, they're probably going to be favourites going into the game. In the previous draw, Manchester United drew Paris Saint-Germain. I'm pretty sure Paris Saint-Germain would have been slight favourites in that one. So I don't think it's whoever we get will beat. I don't think it's like that at all, because as you mentioned, 16 very good teams here. But inevitably there are stronger teams than others. And, Chelsea will probably finishing second in the league will be most nervous because they got probably the best draw they could have got. Whereas all the teams in the seeded pot, let's say, there are a few weaker teams out of the 16. So let's see how it goes. It's going to be fun, and there's going to be so many sob stories to come out of it, but nothing's going to change now.
And Messi against Ronaldo was set to be box office once again. Owen, are you hoping for that again?
Well, no. I don't think it would be. As a fan, maybe, but I think for United, you don't want to play PSG. You want to get the easiest draw possible to get to the next round. So let's see what we get.
Yeah, it was set to be good. You never know. We might get Man United against PSG again. Messi versus Ronaldo, but the draw is going to happen all over again. The Premier League clubs waiting with bated breath once more. The title holders, Chelsea, will be the most nervous. They previously drew Lille. We'll find out soon who they'll all face in the round of 16 as we bring you the Champions League round of 16 draw live from Switzerland after the break.
This programme is brought to you by PlayStation, UEFA Champions League official sponsor.
James. Brilliant from Reece James. Into Ronaldo. Here's the chance. It's popped in by Sterling. Bernard, great goal. Jesus scores. Thiago. Mason Greenwood, outstanding. Through to the last 16 of the Champions League.
It's the Champions League round of 16 draw. Take two. Ralf Rangnick, Pep Guardiola, Thomas Tuchel and Jurgen Klopp all anxiously awaiting their fate in the knockout rounds coming up. Joe, it was Lille-Chelsea earlier on. Are you hoping for the same again, please?
I would love the same again for many, many reasons. I think it's a great tie for both clubs. I don't feel like Lille would be looking at this like they can win the competition. And I think Chelsea obviously are. And I think Lille would have loved Chelsea to come because Chelsea are a huge name, champions of Europe. And from Chelsea's perspective, they'd have seen it as a way to get through to the eight. And from my perspective, I'd have loved to have been there watching two of my old teams go in such a big occasion because both clubs are in a fantastic position at the moment. And I would have liked a little trip to Lille.
And Man United, Michael, definitely the happiest that we're having this redraw now.
Yeah, at the minute, but probability would probably say there could be one or two ties that are going to come out exactly the same. So, don't count your chickens just yet. It's all going to change, of course. We've got to wipe that out of our mind and see what happens now. But yeah, at the moment, I think Manchester United fans will be having a little snigger, let's just say.
Well, they are the least fancied of all the Premier League sides in there. Do you think that could actually work in their favour, maybe?
Well, I think they'd be delighted to just avoid PSG any way possible with probably one of the best front threes we've ever seen, Messi, Mbappe and Neymar. So I think for United, they'll get a better draw. I worry a little bit for Chelsea, City and Liverpool. Obviously, they're going to arguably like to think they're going to get a worse draw than they had. And I think United will be delighted, that they can draw somebody different. Nobody wants to play PSG in a game like this. Let's be honest. You finish group winners and then you end up playing probably one of the greatest group of players assembled ever under Pochettino. So it'd be great for United to avoid PSG.
And Liverpool made easy work, didn't they, of what was supposed to be a group of death. 6 wins out of 6, just cruised through it. They dug in a couple of times, Michael, but you'd fancy them against anyone at the moment.
Yeah, they're going to be favourite against anyone in that sort of second pot, let's say. You want to probably avoid Paris Saint-Germain. And then there's one or two teams that you don't really want, but you'd take.
Atletico, maybe, exactly. A bit of history
they
there.
And Liverpool out not so long ago. So, but it's a nice position to be in when no matter what you're fancied, you're probably the favourites, well, you will be the favourites going into the next game. But of course, as we've already said, there are a couple of teams that you're just desperate to get, and obviously Salzburg were one of those. So Liverpool will be hoping same again. And as we've said before, the main thing, I think, is just avoid Paris Saint-Germain. And if you do that, then I think they've got the quality to go through.
And Chelsea started so strongly. Of course, they're the defending champions, but they need to sort out what in the last few games, Joe, has turned into a bit of a leaky defence.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bump in the road, Linz. I mean, you had the European game over in Zenit where he changed it round slightly. The West Ham game, which West Ham were exceptional. I don't think there's anything wrong with Chelsea at the moment. They've been exceptional since Thomas Tuchel come in. The group of players are outstanding. I think the system in place it works so well. It's so fluid. I think they had a good win at the weekend in a difficult. I have no problems with anything now. I think they'll get back on the horse over the Christmas period and come the next round of the Champions League, I'm sure they'll be in full force and flowing like they was 2-3 weeks ago. How
significant was that win at the weekend against Leeds, especially coming in the manner it did so late with that penalty decision?
For me, it's just another little tick that this group of players have a bit of adversity, some bad results, and then, everyone's looking what's happened at Chelsea, and they just, wasn't going all their own way in the game. I thought Leeds acquitted themselves well. I thought the game plan from Leeds was very, very good. But the quality come through. Big characters. Rudiger was outstanding. And they got the job done. Jorginho, to have the minerals to step up and take 2 penalties in a game. So, I was very, very... I was very happy with the group of players, but I wasn't surprised because it's what I've seen. And I said it 2-3 weeks ago, Lids. I think this group of players, they can go down as one of the great Chelsea teams if they continue to win trophies, because I've seen I don't see any weaknesses anywhere in the squad. So I'm really excited about the future for Chelsea.
Do you see any weaknesses in the Chelsea squad, Michael?
No, certainly not any weaknesses, but I don't think they've got the absolute star names that a Manchester City or a Liverpool have. But I think their strength is their depth. You could literally wipe 12 players off there, put them all onto the injury list and they'd still have exactly the same strength of team. So I think that's where Chelsea are very strong. But in terms of individual players, if every team stays fit, I think Chelsea are the third best in the league. If everybody gets a lot of injuries, they probably end up being the best team in the league. And if there's somewhere in between, then potentially someone like Manchester City. But I think just for the starting 11s, I think it's Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea.
And they weren't fancied last season, were they? They went and won it against all the odds with Thomas Tuchel coming in midway through the season. How does it change things now with the expectation on them as the defending champions? Well,
there is expectations to defend the title, but I think for Chelsea, if they get Kante back, they'll be just fine. The rest of the team is so good.
Well, I think they're all ready to go at the home of European football in Nyon in Switzerland. I think the right balls are all in the right bowls this time for the Champions League round of 16 draw. So we're going to head back over there and I'll hand you over to Pedro Pinto.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I apologise for the fact that we have had to gather again to redo the draw for the UEFA Champions League Round of 16. As many of you will have noticed, there were some errors made in the original draw, caused by a malfunction of the software that ran through an outside provider and which tells us which teams are eligible to be drawn against each other. After the draw, the external independent auditor informed UEFA that they could not guarantee that the problem with the IT system did not exist from the start, and as a result, the full draw needs to be redone. From now on, every suggestion made by the software will be checked in real time by UEFA officials to ensure accuracy. This may mean that the draw takes slightly longer, but I'm sure you will agree it is the right thing to do. So with this, we can now take a look again at the teams involved in the draw. And we start with the group winners, where we have Manchester City, Liverpool FC, AFC Ajax, Real Madrid CF, FC Bayern München, Manchester United FC, LOSC Lille and Juventus. Among the group runners-up, we have Paris Saint-Germain, Club Atlético de Madrid, Sporting Clube de Portugal, FC Internazionale Milano, SL Benfica, Villarreal CF, FC Salzburg and Chelsea FC. So these are the 16 teams, so we can kick off again the draw, and according to the procedure we start again with the group runners-up having to play the first leg at home. The first team drawn is FC Salzburg. And our software is telling us that 7 opponents are possible, except LOSC Lille, who are the group winners of their group. We have received the validation and we can proceed with the 7 balls that need to be now selected in order to feature in this draw as a potential opponent of FC Salzburg. And after that we will have drawn the first leg, the first pairing of the first leg. So Salzburg, I remind you again, it's the first time that an Austrian club features in the round of 16 of the UEFA Champions League, and their opponents
FC Bayern München
will be FC Bayern. So FC Salzburg versus FC Bayern, the 6-time winners. Of Bayern Munich. Second pairing starts with Sporting Clube de Portugal. For Sporting, the options are 6. Ajax cannot be drawn against them, so this is also validated. We can now proceed with the 6 opponents, which are Manchester City, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Manchester United, LOSC Lille and Juventus. Sporting Clube de Portugal is being paired with the following team.
Manchester City.
Sporting Clube versus Manchester City, the finalists of 2021. Third fixture, SL Benfica. So again, Lisbon, and for Benfica, in this moment we have 6 options appearing. They are also correct, so the draw will continue now with 6 possible opponents for Benfica: Liverpool, Ajax, Real Madrid, Manchester United, LOSC Lille and Juventus. We are nearly ready, and the hand of Andrei Arshavin is almost ready to show us.
FC Ajax.
Ajax, so Benfica versus AFC Ajax. This is the third of the pairings. Starting with Chelsea FC. Chelsea have as a potential opponent Real Madrid or LOSC Lille. And we can proceed if it's also validated. I'm waiting for the response. This is validated, so Real Madrid and LOSC are the 2 potential opponents of Chelsea FC.
LOSC Lille.
Chelsea FC versus LOSC Lille. This is the 4th pairing, so we are halfway through. And the 5th runner-up is Club Atlético de Madrid. And for Atlético de Madrid, the possible opponents suggested by the software are Manchester United and Juventus. Validated, so we can proceed with the Manchester United and Juventus. And we will draw.
Manchester United.
Atlético de Madrid versus Manchester United.
Thank you.
The next team is Villarreal. Only one option is possible for Villarreal if validated. That's Juventus. This is validated, so Villarreal will be paired with Juventus. We just show a slip of paper.
Juventus.
So Juventus will face Villarreal in this 6th pairing of the round of 16. The 7th will see FC Internazionale Milano as the home team of the first leg. And for Internazionale, the only available option is Liverpool, which is validated, of course. And so the pairing will feature Internazionale Milano and
FC Liverpool.
Liverpool FC. So Liverpool FC, only one pairing is left. This pairing involves Paris Saint-Germain, and their opponent is the only club left in the pot, which is Real Madrid. We will just show the slip of paper. So with this name appearing,
Real Madrid.
Real Madrid. So Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid is the concluding pairing of the round of 16. That's all for the draw of today. The floor is back to Pedro.
Thank you, Giorgio. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's just recap the results of the UEFA Champions League Round of 16 draw. Salzburg taking on Bayern Munich, Sporting Club Portugal versus Manchester City, Benfica taking on Ajax, Chelsea up against Lille, Club Atlético de Madrid playing Manchester United, Villarreal against Juventus, FC Internazionale Milano versus Liverpool, and Paris Saint-Germain against Real Madrid. And I'd like to also remind you of when those matches are scheduled. So the first legs will take place on the 15th and 16th and the 22nd and 23rd of February, with the return matches on the 8th and 9th, and then on the 15th and 16th of March as well. Andre, Giorgio, Michael, thank you very much. That will conclude the UEFA Champions League draw. Our best wishes from the House of European Football in Nyon.
Yeah.
Well, here is confirmation of what we think is the Champions League last 16 draw, though Michael spotted something in that one as well. I'm just going to update you on that in just a moment. It was Chelsea against Lille again in this one. Salzburg got Bayern Munich. Manchester City up against Sporting. Atletico versus Manchester United. Liverpool drawn against Inter. And PSG versus Real Madrid. Now, as we were watching that draw, they said that Villarreal couldn't play Liverpool, and we couldn't find any reason why Liverpool would not be able to play Villarreal. They're not from the same country and not in the same group. Villarreal, of course, were in Manchester United's group during that. You spotted it, Michael. You think this is wrong again?
I thought it was. It could easily be me, so obviously it's going to be all right, I'm sure, but I can't think of a reason why Liverpool, at the end, it just says they can only play one team. And I'm sure Liverpool could have played them as well.
They could have played Villarreal.
Yeah, they weren't in their group.
Villarreal were drawn against Juventus in that one as well. We are chasing information on this right now to see how that progresses. But at the moment, we can't see any reason why Liverpool wouldn't be drawn.
Possibly the only way is if none of the other teams could have played any of those, so it had to be them. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, yeah.
Because if none of the others could have played the other two teams, then Liverpool had to then come out of it.
Well, actually, Inter couldn't play Real Madrid because they were in the same group, and 2 Italian and 2 Spanish teams, which would explain it. So that would be why.
It?
You had me panicking for a moment.
I was panicking myself.
You understand why we were questioning this and sceptical because of what happened earlier.
Yeah, well, yes, and they made a mess of it at the start, but hopefully it's all okay now. And maybe they're going to have to look at the process again, because it's very complicated to wrap your heads around, but with all of the different connotations that go on. I'm just happy that Chelsea are still playing Lille, and I'll be able to get my day trip to France.
Yeah, because those teams that were in the same group couldn't face each other again, so obviously that was the process of elimination there. There were a big cheer went up when Chelsea got Lille once again. It was the best case scenario earlier. How pleased are you, though, that it's going to be Chelsea-Lille?
I'm delighted. I'm delighted, Leans. I really am. I'm delighted for both clubs. And it's going to be a real great game. And like I said, it's an opportunity, from a selfish point of view, it'll be an opportunity to see some old friends. and go and experience the city again. It's two clubs that genuinely I love playing for both of them. Again, Chelsea will have their eye will be on winning the trophy again because that's where they're at. Lille, is a fantastic club. It's a developmental club, so well run, and they'll be happy to get. They've got a huge European club coming to the town to play, and it's going to be easy to get to for the Chelsea fans. Straight on the Eurostar, so that'll be a fantastic atmosphere, and it's just going to be a real good game. And by the way, Lille are no. They're no bad side. They've got some good athletic players, some fantastic talent, well coached, and from their perspective, the players playing in Lille, they'll want to win the game, of course, but also it's a shop window. They all want to come and play in England. The Premier League is where it's at, so it's going to be a real great game.
Definitely. It's the only tie that is the same as the draw that took place earlier. So good news for you and for Chelsea there, I think. Let's talk about Man City up against Sporting. They drew Atletico earlier. Sporting, how does that compare? How pleased will City be?
Yeah, they'll be pleased. That's a decent draw. I think it's only Liverpool really that will be a little bit more disappointed, slightly more difficult tie. But Manchester City will be pleased. As we've said, if they'd drawn Paris Saint-Germain, it would have been impossible, I think, because they were in the thing. But I think there's only Paris Saint-Germain in that side that the big English teams will be really worried about. Apart from that, there's different levels of difficulty. But in general, I think the English teams will look at them all and think, we should be getting through here. Manchester City, definitely no exceptions. Of course, they get the advantage of playing the second leg at home as well. Always helps, even though there's no away goals this season. But I think it always helps. So, yeah, Man City will be pleased.
They knocked City out 10 years ago out of the Europa League. But how much do you think they'll prefer Sporting to Villarreal?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, they'll be both. Obviously Sporting are a good side, but Man City on the day, they're far too strong for Sporting. With the utmost respect, and I think the Portuguese contingent at Manchester City will be delighted maybe to get a little trip back home. It's a great football club with a great stadium, good fans, but I think City, they'll be delighted. I think it's probably a slightly easier fixture than the Villarreal one.
And for Manchester United, it was set to be PSG earlier, so we thought Messi versus Ronaldo. A tough tie, though. Atletico Madrid, Ralf Rangnick up against Diego Simeone. It's a completely different challenge, this, isn't it? Completely
different proposition. And yet, the only people I think will be disappointed will be UEFA, because that tie, PSG against Manchester United, would have been mouth-watering. Messi against Ronaldo, that was a plum tie. But this one,
it could come later.
It could come later, and this one in its own right is going to be fascinating, because you're going to have two high-octane, high-tempo styles clashing. Diego Simeone, you know what that home ground's like. The fans will be on top of you. It's a great one. Ronaldo going back to a place where he haunted Atletico Madrid throughout his time when he was at Real. So many stories going on. So it's really good. I'm slightly disappointed to have missed out on the PSG Man United one. That would have been a nice one to sit down, get your slippers on and watch. But that one's a good game as well.
Quarterfinals, possibly.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Who knows? How good a tactical battle do you think that one will be?
Yeah, I mean, Simeone's one of the best managers in the world, isn't he? And he's done a quite staggering job over the years. I think it's a tough tie for Manchester United, but on the backdrop of having to play Paris Saint-Germain only a couple of hours ago, then I think, they'll take it. It's slightly easier than Paris Saint-Germain. Man City is slightly easier again. It's only Liverpool that have got a slightly harder one. And, of course, Chelsea have got the same. So, yeah, I think Manchester United's draw is probably about par in terms of difficulty level. And it's a game that could go absolutely either way. Atletico aren't at the top of their form at the minute, nor are Manchester United. So the next couple of months is going to be really important for which way that tie goes. Let's see what the form of the two teams are like leading up to that game. But at the minute, I don't see much between the two sides.
And Atletico put in a complaint to UEFA earlier because of the way that the draw went. They were up against Bayern Munich in that original draw. How do you think they'll feel going up against Manchester United at the moment?
Well, Bayern got an easier draw, didn't they? Playing Salzburg. Atletico got a tough draw. Probably slightly easier than playing Bayern, but playing United. Yeah, I think flip a coin. Obviously Joe mentioned the clash in styles, and Atletico play more defensive on the counter, but any team with, João Felix and Luis Suarez, I mean, they've got some world-class players at the top of the pitch, one of the best goalkeepers in the world in Jan Oblak. So slightly easier for United, but still really, really difficult, this fixture. Flip a coin, who goes through?
How different a Manchester United do you think we're going to see come February, Joe? Because so far there's been some changes, but they're still not convincing. Of course, it's only been a couple of games.
I think we'll see a vastly different team. The way Ralph Rangnick sets his team up with this high pressing, it's not something you can get an emotional response overnight. The players will try to do it, but they still won't have the physical capabilities to do it, because he needs to change. He needs 6, 8, 10 weeks to change his training methods, and then you need to. It's really, you drill this system into. I've played against their types of teams. You drill a system in. There's non-negotiables in the pressing, and you have to be super fit to play it. Hence the reason all of the Red Bull teams, they're young teams, they're aggressive, and so to get the players there at Manchester United to do it, it's going to take time to build up their core fitness. So I think by February, March, Manchester United will be peaking. And you'll see that style more. It'll be more clear. You're seeing glimpses of it now, but you'll be seeing it more clear in 2-3 months.
And Liverpool finished their group stage against AC Milan. They're heading back to San Siro against Inter, Michael. Do you think they're going to find Inter a much tougher prospect?
Yeah, it's a slightly worse tie than the original one, but it's still a tie that Liverpool should be confident about, let's say. Another team with great European history. San Siro is an unbelievable stadium. I think it's a nice trip for the fans and the players to play in an iconic stadium.
Yeah.
But I don't think Italian football is just quite as strong as it was a couple of years ago. And I think that Liverpool are still clear favourites for that one. So as much as they'll be slightly disappointed there was a redraw, I don't think it'll be totally toys out the pram, because they still should go through.
Yeah, they are top of Serie A at the moment and impressing under Inzaghi, Inter, Owen.
Yeah, they've had a great season under Inzaghi, and I think they've got a player in Lautaro Martinez, who obviously partnered Lukaku, who would be perfect in the Premier League. So he'll be a big threat for them. But they played some really good stuff, good attacking football. Edin Dzeko is in the side as well. The midfield is really good, and Brozovic and Barella. So I don't think it's going to be easy for Liverpool, but I agree with Mo. I think they're still favourites without question.
And of the other ties, we're not going to get PSG Man United, but we are going to get a blockbuster game in PSG Real Madrid. That really stands out, doesn't it, Joe, from the other ties?
Yeah, it does, Linz, but it's Real Madrid are not the Real Madrid of 2-3 years ago. I think PSG will win the game. I think they'll win it comfortably. The only teams I think PSG would have struggled against would have been the English sides, because of the intensity and the quality. I think Real Madrid, they're an aging side. They've still got the fabulous Luka Modric pulling strings in midfield, but I think PSG will have enough legs, and the front three, they're breathtaking when they put it together, and that's why everyone wants to avoid it. We all talk about the holes in them tactically and how they're not balanced, but any given day, any of the front three has one of their better games, and they're scoring 1 or 2 goals and they're beating you. So they're the most interesting team left in the tournament, and I for one think they'll take care of Real Madrid quite comfortably.
They're looking better. They are looking better than they did at the start of the season, aren't they? On a decent run now. They beat Atletico in the derby yesterday. And Carlo Ancelotti at the helm, Michael, he delivered La Decima for them. He's won it 3 times. He's got the know-how in this competition.
Yeah,
could be a big factor.
We all know the pedigree of a team, the history of a team, of managers, of players. They've all been there, seen it, done it. I would just love that second leg to be in a full house at the Bernabeu. Then there could be something different. But of course we are where we are, and it's still a great glamour tie, with 2 real successful teams. Of course, Paris Saint-Germain still to be successful in Europe, but they're getting closer and closer and closer. Who knows? Could be their season. I've put the mockers on it all season, all this year. I've been saying Paris Saint-Germain can't win it, so I'm going to stay like that. But they might sneak past Madrid.
Guys, thank you very much for your company today. Longer than expected, but it's been lovely to have you here. Owen, Michael and Joe. We'll head off to fill in our overtime slips now, I think. European football is heading into cold storage then for the winter months, but it will be back with a bang in February with some barnstorming fixtures to look forward to. And it's all live on BT Sport. We'll see you then.
This programme was brought to you by FedEx and PlayStation, UEFA Champions League official sponsors.